Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to show you the most advanced method to do sales and email marketing with AI in 2024. I'll show you the entire process that we use to get customers for Skillplate, and also how to use AI to do research, prospecting, find all the data about your whole market, and everything else you need to know to run a sales campaign using AI in 2024. So let's go. This is the main structure of the sales process. First of all, we have to do prospecting. Prospecting is very, very, very important. It will make about a 10x difference if you do it right. So if you just take some random audience and start doing marketing to that audience, you will get about 10 times better results just by selecting the right audience. This is very important. And the idea behind it is to create a complete database of the right people that you know based on your targeting criteria. Let me give a few examples. So I'll start with our marketing agency. For our marketing agency, we are looking for businesses who know their product very well and know their customer very well. This means that they are not very well set up technically and digitally. They don't have to sell much, but they do have to sell, and they need to have a team and a good product. If they do have that, then we can help them turn that into websites, marketing campaigns, and everything else, and they will make a lot of money, and so we can make a lot of money. Good. Second example is Masters Academy. Masters Academy is a complete package of digital marketing education for entrepreneurs, for marketing professionals, for agency owners, and for people who want to study marketing. Each of those is a separate segment. So if I want to target entrepreneurs, I will go on LinkedIn, for example. I will make a database of entrepreneurs who are between $0 and $1 million a year, and then I will explain to them in some way how Masters Academy can help them become a better entrepreneur and obviously break the 7 figures barrier. If I was to target agency owners, I could do the same. All you need to do is have an agency, and then just by virtue of you having an agency, I can direct your attention and show you how Masters Academy can help you run, grow, expand your agency all over the world, and so on. So this is kind of how it works. So let's focus now on Skillplate. Skillplate is our platform that is focusing specifically on content creators. And again, there we have very specific targeting criteria. We have several segments. Number one is YouTubers. Why YouTubers? Because YouTubers already have an audience, meaning they can sell. And second, they know how to create content. So for them, it's very easy to create an online course. They know how to record content. They know how to work with video. They know all that. And they already have an audience that they can sell that course to. So with Skillplate, I can very quickly help them launch their business in under an hour, and they can start selling immediately. So this is a massively valuable value proposition specifically for them. I can have, for example, another audience of businesses who want to run courses for customer acquisition. I could target course creators on other platforms like, for example, like Udemy, where I could get a database of their entire customer list and go over them one by one. So these people already have a course. I know that Udemy is taking between 50 and 95% of their revenue, so they're not happy with that. And if I can help them launch their course on my platform, they'll be very happy and make a lot of money. So that's what prospecting does. You need to be able to select the right people individual by individual. So the way this goes is you have to, in some way, make a database of the entire market. I'll show you how to do that. Don't worry, it's later in the video. The second part is once you identify the audience, you will understand immediately, as I demonstrated in the examples, that there are different segments. YouTubers are going to be vastly different than the course creators on Udemy. Now, that is there is a very simple way for you to understand how to segment. If you have to tell one person one thing and another person another thing to convert them, they are two different segments. That's the most basic, most simplest rule that you can go by, because you need to actually personalize the approach for each segment. If you are targeting lawyers, you're going to speak to lawyers in one way and to doctors in a completely different way. So the next step is, after you have a list, let's say you have a list of 1,000 YouTubers. So then what you need to do to personalize the message to them is you need to enrich them. You need to find more information about them. And let's say out of those thousands, maybe you will find that 100 of them have too few followers or too many followers. Like if they have 100 million followers, is it really realistic for me to kind of get them in that way? Maybe I should have a separate segment for those. And if they have too few followers, they can't sell, my offer is not valuable enough, not good. So I need to kind of qualify them, and I can only do that if I have more information. The second reason for why we enrich them and why we find more information is because we need to personalize the message to such extent that what we tell them on the first opening message resonates very deeply with them. We need to understand their problem. We need to help them and kind of solve their problem right out of the bat and show them a path to the solution. All right, that's very, very important. Then we are going to use automated outreach. We will write all of our messaging with AI, and then you can use that to both run ads. My preferred method for this is sales, because ads are becoming more and more expensive. And actually ads, Facebook and Google and Instagram and TikTok are becoming too expensive to advertise on, and they will get even more expensive over time. So that's why I like the cold approach. I like, instant messaging, cold email, and things like that. And then depending on the value of the deal, like if your deal is $100, maybe you want to automate and straight up try to close them directly, onboard them, and help them to go forward. But if your deal is worth $1,000, $100,000, or more, then you definitely want to meet with them. And so your first step is going to be to book the meeting. So this is the overall sales process. So now let me show you kind of how this works all together. We will go first to a software called Clay. We use that for prospecting. So one of the ways, so let me just kind of give you first an example with Udemy. Udemy, like any website, is going to have a website. So this is, each website is going to have a sitemap XML, which I could potentially scrape to kind of find who are the educators on Udemy. And you can see Eric Ries, Tom Watson, Ian Dunbar. Those are the first people who registered on Udemy. And this database here is going to have about 100,000, about 80,000 content creators, which I can then, now that I have their link, I will just get one of them, I will open it, and this is a page that I could potentially scrape. And you can see from this very page, I can get a lot of information. So I know her name, I know her title, I know how many students she has and how many courses she has. I have her description, even though it's in a foreign language, that's fine. I can see her website. I can get more information from that as well. And I have all her social profiles, and I even have her YouTube channel. Not very big, right? Just by opening those, I can identify whether or not this is a good lead or not. I can do the same just by the social profiles. So I could go with YouTube channels first and so on. So let me show you how that works in a campaign. First, as I told you, I get the database, I scrape it, and I put it in a table. I use a tool called clay.com to do this automated enrichment. And so here you can see I have about 20,000 out of the 80,000 customers of Udemy. And so I know my table is a little bit messy, so I'll go kind of through it over here. So I can see their name, right? And this one is sorted by number of students over here. You can see I have one sort. So I want to target the people who have the most students, the most successful guys first. That's what I'm trying to do. And so I can see this guy, I can see his Udemy link, I can see his number of students, I can see the about information that he has about himself. This is great. If you can ever find a piece of information that they wrote about themselves, an intro about themselves, that's gold. Let me show you. So for example, this guy is obviously working on AI tech, and he is very connected with AI, and this is how he sees himself. I can use AI, I can give that message to AI to understand what he does and then compose a message that will resonate exactly with what he does. Gold, magical. So once we are done with that, we can find by his social profiles. You can see I have his Instagram here. For some people, I have a website, a Twitter, a Facebook account, and so on. By these things, I can use clay.com or other services to find their email, phone number, and all of these other things. I can also find their email address from their social media. Some people put it in their YouTube description, on their Facebook pages, everywhere, right? So here in this case, I'm using Google search to open their Facebook page and extract the email. And there's various other ways to do it. The way you do it, this is actually very important. It's always a waterfall approach. Waterfall means you go from the cheapest method to the most expensive. So if I can do a Google search on the name of the person using their social profile or their social link, and I can find their email there, that's free, perfect. But if I can't do that, maybe there's some higher profile person, I can go and use LinkedIn, I can use databases, I can use some paid tools to find their email. And then if I can't do that, I can, if they're super very important, I can send my assistant to find their friends, ask them, try to get in touch with them with a personal message, DM, or something like that. Fine. Now that we have gone over that, I can also scrape their Instagram, as you can see. I can see their LinkedIn profile. This is very important. From their LinkedIn profile, I can find a lot of information. I can see what awards they have. I can see what courses, patents they have, their own summary, a lot of information that you can get from that. And then you can see I have currently in this table, in this campaign, I have about 72 columns with different pieces of information that I use to get these guys. So I know that they are course creators. In this case, I can see what they are selling. This is their first course. I can see what it's about. I can scrape that message and I can see, okay, they have a course about ChatGPT, the complete guide, Learn Midjourney, ChatGPT, and more, right? And then I can also find what the rating is, how many reviews they have, what's the total number of hours and lectures that they have, and the current price that they're selling the course, and how much it's being discounted by Udemy. So based on that information, I can see, okay, this guy has 180,000 students. Udemy got at least, at the very minimum, 70% of that money. So I can do the math, and you can see me doing the math over here. I do the math, and I see the price of their course, and I tell them how much they would have made if they sold that many courses on my platform. And so I am using this information, separating it by formulas, and I am going to compose a message personalized to them, which is going to be, hey man, you have 284,000 students times this price. You should have made, about $1 million, but you actually probably made, less than $100,000 on Udemy. So if you meet me, I'll show you how using Skillplate, you can make, at least 10 times more money. Who's going to say no to that? You got to be kind of crazy. And so what I'm doing after that is I am starting to compose the message. First of all, I get their email. Finally, I get their best email. I validate it. And then from here, I start composing my message using AI. So I analyze them. I have a column called course specialty. This is basically their thing, right? I want to identify what their thing is and connect my message to that. So in this case, I'm saying, from looking at Udemy, I see that you're the guy to speak to when it comes to generative AI. I was on Udemy searching for courses and found your channel, right? Cool. Now then, I can do that, and from there, I can say, I'll move over to this site, and then I can say, here's some potential things that you can do on our platform and so on. And so I can have various different conditions. I can have thing one that I want to say, then a second thing, then a third thing, then a call to action. I generate all of these separately and then combine them into one email. Right, cool. You with me? So the next step is to create a cold outreach campaign. I use Smart Lead, and here's my email campaigns. This is the campaign for these Udemy guys. You can see I have about 500 people from Udemy that I selected out of these 20,000. You can see this is something that I didn't show you. I have here some filters that I'm applying. You can see I have 9 filters based on the number of students, number of money that they could make. I estimate the potential, the value that I can provide to these people through my platform. And then I only email the ones who would be definitely a win if I get in touch with them. And so I selected these 5 people and I sent them 4 emails each. And you can see about 100 of those replied. So this is a 16.72% not open rate. This is the reply rate. These many people replied, and 71% of those people replied positively, saying, yes, I'm interested. About 15% said, okay, I need more information. And about 15% said, leave me alone. I don't want to talk to you. Fine. And then what we do, I can show you the composed messages. So I can go over here and I can see, for example, for some of the people who replied, how the email message looks. Right. So here I say, hey, I was on Udemy searching for courses on modeling and texturing in Blender, and I found your channel. This guy obviously is into 3D. And then he says, have you thought about creating your own platform to avoid the Udemy costs? And then he says, hey, that's interesting. And then from there, the conversation starts, and we invite them to meet with us, and then we close them. So if we move over here, we got from prospecting, we got that from the database with scraping, with tools, with Clay, through LinkedIn, whatever. Then we segment them, figure out who are the right ones. We get more information with all the columns that I showed you. We generate the message, send it out to them, and then we get a meeting. And in the meeting, this is a thing for another video. We close them and we tell them how everything works and how it does. Now, once we have done that, I can obviously do one for each campaign. For example, you can see here, I have one with YouTubers. I find YouTube channels through Google search. I search for different things like, channels about, having fun, channels about blacksmithing, about lawyers, about everything. You just choose a keyword, run a search, get a list of channels, put them in a database, and start enriching them. And you can also buy databases and so on, right? So let me show you then how this kind of works. Everybody who replies, positively or negatively, then goes into the so-called master inbox. And then you can see, for example, sometimes the conversation is a lot longer, and then you can see, the conversation starts here, then people start asking questions, you get in touch with them, meet, and close the customer and make the deal. That's basically how it works. So here's some, I think, important key takeaways that you can do. First, advertising is expensive, and targeting is getting more and more inaccurate. We are forced to advertise on Facebook and Google Ads with very broad audiences using databases and lookalikes and so on, and our targeting is not accurate. I can tell you, I've been advertising since 2006. It used to be probably over 10 times more accurate than it is now. So that's why we create these databases, and that's why we approach every person with a specific message generated with AI. And imagine, if you get 1,000 people, do you think that you would have the exact same conversation and you would tell them the exact same things to close the deal? No. That's why ads are orders of magnitude less effective than this approach. Now, when we get the person, would we be able to sell them better if we knew everything about them? Of course, everybody knows that. It's kind of self-evident. And so that's why we do the enrichment. We try to get more information. We go to their social profiles, we scrape the information, we put it in a certain format. This takes a little bit of time, but once you do it, you can do it for a lot of people. So for example, right now, I have a database of 152 million YouTube channels. And so I need to segment them in some way. I'm segmenting them by subscribers, by the channel language, by whether or not they have affiliate links in their descriptions and in their videos. Because if they are doing affiliate, this means that they are doing this YouTube channel to make money. And if they want to make money, they would want to use my platform. That's a very simple logic to get to. So that's key takeaway number 2. You have to enrich them. And then the personalized message gets better and better and better the more information you have about them. So the messaging and the personalization actually depends on the enrichment. You can't just get their email and send them a random message. We were doing that spam thing years ago. You don't want to send an email campaign to 50,000 people and send them the same message. You want to find a way to find the right 500 people out of which you can convert 100 and have a 20% conversion rate with a hyper-personalized message. So now let me show you another thing. What you can do is you can daisy chain things with AI. Let me show you. This is going to get very crazy, and I'm going to show you something that's coming up in Skillplate very soon. So based on the first thing that you know about them, you can create a second thing, and from that a third, and from that something else, and from that something else. Let me show you an example, a little bit of a quick sneak preview. So let's say that I know that this guy that I'm going to talk about is, let's say, a finance advisor. And so he's going to make a course. I can suggest to him to make a course about personal finance. So I will say personal finance masterclass. This is the course that I'm proposing him to make. I know that he's an expert in personal finance. I know that through the enrichment. And so I can start. I just came up with a name because I know what he does. I came up with a name for his course. I came up with a subtitle for his course. And then based on these two, I can use AI to generate the entire proposed curriculum of the course. So here it is. Let me show you. I do that with AI. I'll show you the prompts in a second. Have patience, please. And yeah, so I generated him a nice course curriculum. And then he can see, oh my God, this is very powerful. This guy really put in the work and is really interested in me. And so now, because he did that work, I feel like I kind of owe him. And so he's definitely worth a meeting, because what I'm seeing from him is massively different than what I'm seeing from anyone else. Cool. Now that that's done, I have the course curriculum, and I also, by the way, wrote the course description and the course copy, and I basically kind of did a lot of the work for him. So you can see this is the information about his course, why people should buy it, what they're going to learn, and so on. So obviously, he's not going to use that exact thing, but I gave him so much ideas to think about. I sparked his imagination, and so now he's thinking about, wow, if I make this, I can sell it to my audience and make, I don't know, I have 10,000 people as an audience. If I sell it for $100 to 1,000 people, that's $100,000. Maybe I should meet with that guy. And that's how you get the meetings. So using AI, just like I did here in the Udemy campaign, you can, first of all, get the information about the customers, and then apply your knowledge about the business and the industry to generate something that is going to be very cool for them and that they're going to love, and that's going to spark a conversation. Remember, what you want to do with your first message is to get them interested, to get them thinking about you, to get them to reply, to get in touch. You do not want to sell them anything, right? What you're selling them is getting them to think about you, getting them to want to meet you, getting them interested. Remember, first of all, you want to get their attention. You do that by understanding what they do and personalizing. Then you want to get them interested. You do this by understanding really what they do, and then making something, coming up with a cool idea about how you plus them can be more equals more than two, right? So together you can do something that they cannot do themselves. And then from there, the world's your oyster. You get to meet with them, close the deal, make the money, move forward to making more campaigns. Now, one last thing is that by having the conversation, by actually meeting the people, that's why I don't like automation out of the in the very beginning. When you meet the people and when you have the conversation with them 100 times, 200 times, for Skillplate, I've already had it with over 500 people. And so when you know how that conversation is going to go, you can understand what people want, what are their desires, what are their problems, what are they worried about, what stops them from starting now, what are their doubts. And basically, what you want to understand, in short, is the so-called ABC of marketing. You want to see what is pushing them to accelerate down the funnel, what is making them break, and what are the clutch moments where they're wondering and thinking about what's going to happen. That's about it. Once you know these things, you will include them in your messaging, refine and redesign your messaging to improve the conversion rate. And you do that, obviously, with A/B testing. Again, I'll show you a very quick tip over here. When you send these campaigns, For example, let's take a campaign that I had over here. Um, you can test different things, right? Once you create the new audience, you can create a variant of this message. And so the first message was that you can see I have my variables here that are the inputs by the AI. And then I can make a new message with the new knowledge that I have from the meetings with the customers. Now that I know what they want and what they need much better. And so this is kind of the most advanced, most modern way to do digital sales using AI. I hope you love it. If you do, please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when we release new videos. Otherwise, you might not see the new videos coming out. So better click that bell icon. Thank you, and I'll see you guys next time.